Good evening and welcome to a new edition of To The Point. This evening we'll be delving into the situation in Syria. Just over the past couple of days, less than a week actually, since the Turkish atrocities in Syria, we've had over 275,000 innocent civilians displaced and quite a number killed. And that is to achieve what? This evening on To The Point we'll be delving into where are we heading in the Syrian crisis, and more importantly, where is the international conscience? Where are the human rights organizations that are always preaching about human rights? The displacement and the killing of those people. Is this not a violation of human rights? Is it not a violation of international law? When you have, out of the 275, worth noting, 70,000 happen to be children. Where are those organizations? Who is standing at the back or supporting the innocent civilians in Syria? This evening, to delve into this issue, we have with us Dr. Cherif Amir, who is a professor of geopolitics at the University of Paris. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Quite a catastrophe. Some are attributing the onset of this catastrophe to President Donald Trump's statement when he said the American troops are withdrawing. Some say America is withdrawing. This is a green light for Turkey to step in. What's your opinion on the issue?
Well, as you exactly said, what we're witnessing now is a genocide. Violation of international law of a sovereign country, which is Syria, without the UN resolution. And a blackmail made by the dictator of Ankara, Erdogan, by telling the West, if you qualify or describe my source of peace operation as an invasion, then I will open wide the borders and let all the criminals that he liberated from the prisons, the Daesh fighters, I will let them go into Europe.
So he's threatening, either accept my violations or all hell will break loose.
He said it clearly. He's very clear about it. And this is his way of dealing with things, blackmail. That's why I don't think that he was, he got the green light by Donald Trump's move. Donald Trump is trying to appease things with Russia at this time in a way to make things in the Middle East more quiet if there will be confrontation with Iran. He doesn't want many problems in the region, especially that he's heading to an election. And Donald Trump's mindset is to strengthen the economy and less war. And he said it. He was clear, like Erdogan. He said, we don't care about these people. He said it. Well, they're fighting for their own land. Good for them. But we will do for our own interest. So what we're witnessing today is a new geopolitical situation in the Middle East, because I don't think that the Turkish invasion and the genocide that is being committed now will end soon and will end quietly.
So you think this will continue?
It will be a war of attrition, of course, because the people who were, they were, let's say, the Kurdish fighters, they were not killed, they were executed on the highways in front of the cameras. I saw the videos in cold blood, just executed like that in front of the eyes of their women and children who were displaced afterwards. And by the way, the fighters who are fighting with the Turkish army are members of notorious jihadist movements, some of them like the Muslim Brotherhood and those who went to Sinai also to fight Egypt. So they're the same group, the same people, committing the same crimes again. So I think that what we are witnessing now is that there will be a Turkish presence there, but it won't end very easily like that, because it's first of all, it's a ground invasion, and usually you prepare by the air strikes. Why there were no air strikes? Because Erdogan has no pilots for the F-16s. Why? When there was this failed coup d'etat in July 2016,
Yes.
he asked for the American expertise to train his pilots for the F-16. The Americans said they should come to America. He got the advice, don't let your pilots go there because they will go and they will work for Fathallah Gul, the man that he's saying that is threatening him, and they will never come back again. So he got this genius idea. He put all the pilots in prison. Now he has no real air force. That's why this is the second time he made the first mistake in Idlib by sending ground forces. We have seen now no Turkish Air Force acted till now except for some bombings, quick bombings, and then they go back. They have no campaign. There is no real campaign. The second point, and this would be very interesting to highlight.
Yes.
There is no Turkish air defenses really independent. It's in the hands of Russia.
Meaning?
Everyone told me that I was asked this question.
Yes.
He is part of NATO, but then at a certain time, President Vladimir Putin told him that I will sell you the S-400 air defense missiles, the batteries.
Yes.
He said, okay, they agreed about the price. It's $2.5 billion. And then when he paid half of the price, he didn't get the missiles because he put off all the air defenses that he had for the S-400 because the S-400 is the best in the world. Then he told the Russians, I want the know-how. I want to know the expertise so I control them. And the Russians said, no, you will get the missiles, but you will never get the know-how.
Yes.
So he said, okay, we will cancel the deal. He said, the Russians said, well, okay, we will keep half of the price that you paid and you will not get the missiles. So he got his genius strategist with him, and he said, okay, we will pay the other part of the price and give us the missiles. What took place in Idlib lately showed what the Russians did, is that Turkey has no air defenses. He pushed with his convoys into Idlib, which is a Syrian territory. Then the Russians gave the green light to Bashar al-Assad to send his warplanes. And they bombarded the convoy of the Turkish army. So he wanted to reply. And then when the Turkish airplanes started to fly on this zone, all the air defenses were canceled from Moscow. The S-400.
Yes.
So he had no air defenses, so he couldn't bombard anyone. So he got just the strike from the Syrian army, which is the weak part of all this equation, but it was a sign. And he couldn't take any revenge, and they went back home, and they knew they have no air defenses anymore. This is the payback time for what happened for the Sukhoi in 2015, when it was shot down by the Turkish army.
The Russian special envoy said that that Russia will not allow those clashes, and I'm quoting here, said that the Turkish actions are unacceptable. What action do you think will be taken, since I'm linking this to the fact that you said that you don't foresee that things will end tomorrow, for example, that evidently this genocide, as you said, will continue for some time? What will be the Russian reaction in the future? Because there is a warning statement that it's unacceptable, so what will they do?
Well, it's unacceptable, but in the meantime, Russia made its veto for the draft of the UN resolution, calling it invasion. They said it's not an invasion. So it's a way that the Russians are dealing with things. No one wants to anger Erdogan now till he gets in and just settle in, and then things will change. Today, for example, they started in the United States, as everyone said, the green light, imposing some sanctions on ministers. They're dealing with them as they are dealing with Iran now. So we will see that things will change for Erdogan economically. And then the Russians, they gave the green light for the Syrian army to go to northern Syria in Manjib. They just control Manjib. And 2 hours ago, when the Syrian army and the Turkish army were face to face, there was a military police patrolling this neutral zone, and it was the Russian military police. So they're controlling both sides now. So I think that the Russians are giving the mixed signals now because they want things to be not really clear now until the visit of President Vladimir Putin ends in Riyadh and in Abu Dhabi now.
Yes.
Because he's preparing all the scene now. It's not that genocide won't stop, it's that there will be an action from the Kurds afterwards.
What are you expecting? What's the scenario?
The scenario is that, of course, no one would like to see the Kurdish entity, let's call it like that, really slaughtered in just one strike. There has to be a war of attrition. There is an info that no one noticed 2 days ago. The first day of the attack, of the invasion, Iran sent 400,000 fighters into southern Iraq of the Revolutionary Guard under Qasem Soleimani's command. And this because the Kurdish card is very dangerous. If the Iraqi Kurdish entity, which is strong, it has the oil in Erbil, will start to act, that means that there will be war, and then the Kurds will say, well, we are settled now in Iraq, in Syria, and why not Iran? So they're ensuring their borders, because the Iranians don't make war inside their borders, but outside. So I think that there will be a kind of fighting. There will be arms given to the Kurds. They will reply at a certain time. And then I think that there will be calls for Erdogan to make an immediate pullout from these zones. And it won't be that easy, because he's dealing not only with his army, he's dealing also with groups who are not Turks, with jihadists from Daesh.
So we're going to wait until he goes in, settles down, and then we ask him to leave? Because it seems this is what's happening. Once he goes in...
they want it to be like a muddy situation, like Vietnam, for example. Yeah, that he will go in there, and then it will be a war of attrition. And that's why Trump is repeating economy, 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 because he knows that this country is not prepared for war economically. And Erdogan is not hiding. One of his main problems that he's so arrogant that he never hides his plans. So he even threatened the countries in the Mediterranean, like Egypt, concerning the gas fields. So he will do anything to save his economy at a certain time. So I think that what we're witnessing now, that he will meddle into this problem in northern Syria. The Kurdish problem won't end like that. The Kurds will have, again, the means to make a war of attrition. As I said, it's a ground invasion. A ground invasion is not an airstrikes. Look, for example, the Israelis, since 2006, when they went to an air incursion into southern Lebanon, they never committed it again because they knew it was a war of attrition. They lost many soldiers. So now they focus on the aerial campaign.
Yes.
He hasn't done so. Even Saudi Arabia in Yemen, the Arab alliance, is trying not to push the ground invasion too far. He made it once, and then he won't get out easily from it. That's why I think that he's playing a very dumb card, that he's thinking that he's replacing the Kurds with Turkish population. And this won't happen.
This won't work.
No, this won't work.